Celtics looked awful, then awesome, then they lost in OT. Are the Pacers going to become a problem for the Celtics? That, some three-point shooting issues. It's all right now on the Locked On Celtics podcast.
Thanks to Blockbuster brand, it's holiday season. Drop Drew in the mix. And 3 from KP, no, we not on the Knicks. Flushing competition like Al on Giannis. Juice and Big Zeus, still Beantown's finest. Banner 18 going up in the rafters. Watch the Seeds game in Locked On after. Karalis on the breakdown. Clutch like a tip from D. White on the breakdown. John on the mic, documenting domination. Matter pen a back bay, it's all Seeds Nation. Rain and J's, how we started, raising banners, how we finish. Locked On Celtics pod, home of the winners. Peace.
Hey there, welcome back to the Locked On Celtics podcast right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where it is your team every day, and I got you covered every Monday through Friday, plus bonus podcasts when they play, like this Friday and Saturday night. So you got 7 days of podcasting this week, plus I think another 6 next week. So plenty of podcasts for you. If you're subscribed, they show up directly in your device. Watch the YouTube page there. Get into the comment section. Let me know what you're thinking about what I've said, about the games, all of that stuff. I'm John Karalis. I'm covering the Celtics now for Boston Sports Journal as a beat writer. I've been doing this job various places for about 20 years now. So, I've been around. I'm around the team. I'm not traveling with them on this trip, but I am usually there and talking to the players. So I've got a little bit of insight with this team. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet. You get started with $150 in bonus bets. If you win your first $5 bet, visit FanDuel.com to get started. Today, we're talking about the Celtics' loss to the Indiana Pacers in overtime. Sheesh, what a weird game. We'll get into some of Mazzula's decisions later. Just run through this whole thing. They started off right away. We should have known right away that this was going to be a weird one, because opening tip, the ball gets tipped over towards Jayson Tatum, not to him directly. He wants to kind of tip it back to Derek White, and then the ball gets stolen and Indiana scores. So immediately within 10 seconds, it's a point off a turnover. So right away, you're like, okay, this might not go well for the Celtics. Pacers got up big in the third quarter. It looked like the Celtics were trying to hang around. They were kind of hanging around. They just were a step slow. The guys said it after the game. We were a step slow all night long. It felt like they were a step slow. They looked like they weren't getting to a lot of the loose balls. It looked like they just weren't themselves. They weren't moving the ball the same way. They weren't playing the same way. It just wasn't. It was the Pacers doing Pacers things and the Celtics not doing Celtics things. So my first reaction right away is, okay, so it happens. I'm not worked up by the loss necessarily, because Jaylen Brown shot 1 of 11 from 3. Jayson Tatum shot 5 of 18 from 3. That's not you're not gonna see 6 for 29 out of Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown for ever. Those guys shooting 29 3-pointers. I don't think I've ever seen them shoot 29 combined 3-pointers. Do we need Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown to be shooting 29 3-pointers? There are 3 teams in the NBA that are currently averaging 29 point something 3-pointers per game. You don't need 2 guys shooting as much as entire teams. And I am very pro Mazzula ball. I'm very pro, if the best shot's the 3-pointer, you take it. But there are limits. And Jayson Tatum going 5 of 18 from 3 is kind of my limit, especially he went to the line 15 times in this game. Why not keep going? Why not keep attacking? Why not keep moving the ball? 18 shots from 3. Derek White was 8 of 9 in this game, 5 of 5 from 3, 2 of 2 from the line. He scored 23 points on 9 shots. Now, I remember Jaylen Brown talking about this on the Hot Ones show, that sometimes you got to feed the hot hand. And feel like he might have been talking like, sometimes I've got the hot hand, you got to feed me. But it works the other way too. Like, you had a hot hand in Derek White. This is my biggest criticism of this game for the Celtics. Jaylen Brown took 30 shots. Jayson Tatum took 25. The Celtics took 109, and literally half the shots, they took 55 shots. So double that, 110. Half the shots went from Tatum and Brown. Now they scored like 25 and 37, but 25 points on 30 shots is not exactly the most efficient night. 37 points on 25 shots. Okay, a little bit better, but not the best. To have those guys, yeah, they put up big numbers points-wise, but how about getting Derek White some looks? How about dialing it back a little bit, just a tiny bit, and feeding Derek White? He had it going. He was hitting shots. Why not get it to the guy who was hitting shots? If I had one, like I don't care about the loss necessarily. I don't care. Like, they're 4-1. Like, there's nothing. No one should be overreacting either way. At this point, where this is the Halloween show, so. But before I've handed out any candy at my house, I'm not going to be sitting there being like upset about a loss like this. Again, the Celtics shot poorly from 3. Their 2 stars were not efficient at all. Meanwhile, Pascal Siakam has his best 3-point shooting night ever, and Benedict Mathurin drops 30 points and 11 rebounds, one of his best games ever. So you have a couple of outlier games on either side, and it ended up being a 3-point loss. So you can take from it like, happens. Couple bad shooting nights, couple great shooting nights. Happens at the same time. You end up losing by 3. Okay, couple of things go differently. Maybe you win this game. I mean, they were down 24 in the third quarter. They were down 19 in the fourth. They still managed to come all the way back. The Pacers slowed down. The Pacers went ISO after the game. Rick Carlisle talked about, we are not an ISO team. We're not built to be an ISO team. And they still, like, they were up and they did the thing. It was a very Celtics from a couple years ago thing to do, right? They're following kind of a similar path where, yeah, you play this great game, you get up, and okay, now we're up. Now we got to play differently. And that was always the big criticism. For how many times have I been on this podcast over the past few years? People who are everydayers, people who are listening on a regular basis, how when the Celtics were blowing leads a couple of seasons ago, how many times I say, keep doing what you've been doing. I've gotten on the Celtics for their fourth quarters. Their pace in the fourth quarters has been abysmal. I think it was abysmal at the end of last season. But the Pacers did it, and it almost cost them. The Celtics, to their credit, didn't give up. To their credit, they kept fighting. And so that's part of why I'm not really torn apart by this loss. But I am curious to see if this level of confidence is going to help the Pacers. I wrote about it on Boston Sports Journal. The Pacers have been a pain for the Boston Celtics. Now I'm questioning, will this particular game start to turn them into a problem for the Boston Celtics? I'll explain that when I come back. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. You can tackle the NFL action with FanDuel. It's America's #1 sports book. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and you'll get $150 in bonus bets if you win. FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So if you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check the latest stats, get your play-by-play, and so much more on the same page, when you place your bets, where you place your bets. So it's all right there for you. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Make sure you're using the tools that they have available to you to set your limits, to set your budget. So if you've got $5 to spend, then make it $5. If it's 50, you get 50. But make sure you're just having some fun with whatever you can spend. We want you to have fun with it and not go overboard. At FanDuel.com, never waste a hunch. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Thank you for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. Tons of content here on the Locked On Celtics feed. Remember, we've got postcast with Steve Lennox. So right after the game, Steve fires up live on the Locked On Sports Boston YouTube page. So within 5 to 10 minutes of the game ending, he's live on that page. After he's done, that audio gets uploaded to the regular Locked On Celtics feed. So you'll see Locked On Celtics postcast. Then I do my show a little bit later after I'm done with my job of writing for Boston Sports Journal and all of that. The regular Locked On Celtics audio goes onto that same feed. The video goes onto the Locked On Celtics, a separate YouTube page. So make sure you've got all of that stuff together. So basically, the short version is one extra podcast that gets you some content immediately after the game so you can just kind of stick with Locked On. So the Pacers win this game, right? They go up big. At that point, like the Celtics, in the third quarter, I thought, this doesn't look great. I thought forget it. This is going to be one of those games where Joe might as well just pull the plug, give the fourth quarter to the bench, let them just have their fun, learn a few things, get some live practice against the Pacers. And hey, maybe they'll come back and make a game of it, and we can just celebrate the end of bench doing that stuff. He kind of towed the line because he brought in some bench guys. He stopped playing Al Horford, who, if I said this in the podcast, the crossover podcast with Tony East, the Horford matchup was a little bit, I thought it was going to be more of a Tillman matchup, but they stopped playing Horford. They stopped playing Holiday. Holiday was a -19 in this game. So I'll get to those decisions in a little bit. But the Celtics, okay, they make their comeback and force overtime. The Pacers understand. Rick Carlisle, like I said it after the game. Can't go ISO. Pascal Siakam after the game talking about, and I'll read you his quote because I thought this quote was really important. He said, "We had 4 games a year ago against those guys where we felt 3 of those was like the same situation as right now. So I think it was just a good learning and growth experience for us to put ourselves in that situation again with the turnovers and not take not take the ball and not turn over the ball and come out with a win. It's big. It's huge. It shows growth because we know in those conference finals games, we had some games just like that where if we took care of the ball a little more or if we made big shots, we could have won those games." So to me, I'm sorry, I botched that quote, but you get the point. Siakam's talking about 4 games a year ago where they played like this and then they fell apart. And now they did it again. It's a very Joe Mazzulla like mentality where it's like, this was good. This was good that we did this again. And now we have the growth. We had games like that before and we couldn't close. This time, okay, yeah, we went to overtime, but we figured out a way to win. And that's where I say, and I ask the question, do they go from pain to problem? Because I think Rick Carlisle can go into a film session and say, guys, we did this for 4 games against them in the conference finals, and it cost us. We did it again here, and it almost cost us. And what did we do? We started playing better Pacers basketball, and here we are. We get big shots from Pascal Siakam. But you play at a better pace and you win the game. You once you start getting back to some of the stuff that has, your hallmark, then you can pull through. Whenever you blow a lead and then you win and you can go to sleep and be like, whew, there's like there is a little bit of a confidence boost. It's very much like Deuce Tatum in the locker room after the Celtics in game 3 of the NBA finals, where he's like, we almost lost. Like, that's a funny moment because you did almost lose, but you didn't lose. And so you can laugh about it when the kid says the cute thing, the quiet part out loud, and everybody just gets a kick out of it. Well, you can get a kick out of it now in the Pacers locker room. And it's just like, okay, we've done this. We understand we did this. We can't do this again. And it just feels like the next time the Celtics play the Pacers, that crazy flying everywhere. I swear I saw them doing a 3-man weave at one point, which you don't see that in the league anymore. A 3-man weave? Are you kidding me? But they, when they fly like that, especially when the Celtics are missing, the Celtics are turning the ball over, and they get those cutters cutting from every angle, and you lose one person. All you got to do is like turn your head for like half a second, and all of a sudden, boom, Obi Toppin is cutting to the rim and dunking. Like you can't lose those guys for just an instant. But this confidence of like, okay, now not only do we know we can hang with Boston, we know like, okay, we've gone through this thing a few times. Now we beat them. Now we know if we play this way, we keep playing this way, they cannot hang with us. Like, that's the feeling again that the Pacers have, which means Boston now has to treat the Pacers like they treat New York, like they treat Milwaukee, like they treat Philly. The Pacers are a singular problem for the Boston Celtics. They play a style that the Celtics have trouble with. Boston is so good at identifying weaknesses and going at a stylistic thing. The Knicks with Karl Anthony Towns and Jalen Brunson on the floor. The Celtics have a plan for that. And the Knicks are going to play a certain way. You know that. You can kind of predict it, and you can game plan for it. The Sixers will play a certain way. You know it. You can predict it. You can game plan for it. The same thing for a lot of these teams. But the Pacers don't play a specific way other than a little chaotic up and down the floor. When you miss, they are running as fast as they can, and they're making you make mistakes. When you get drawn into their own pace, their own style of play, you kind of get yourself into trouble. And the Celtics, it just doesn't work for them. The way they game plan for other teams, they can exploit a lot, but this unpredictable nature of the Pacers makes it very tough for them to say, we're going to play this certain way. And when the Celtics get into that kind of mode, then it becomes, all right, well, Tatum and Brown start to do their thing. Tatum and Brown start to like isolate a lot. And if everybody isn't on the same page and moving to certain spots and not giving those guys outlets to pass to, they're just going to go do it themselves. This is kind of what we saw in this game. Why do you think they took 55 shots together, half of the 109? That is not Celtics basketball. Brown taking 30 shots, Tatum taking 25 shots is not Celtics basketball. But that's what happens when you're not playing together and you're playing, up and down basketball with the Pacers. Now the Pacers have confidence, more confidence, that they can hang, that they can win these games now. It's not like the NBA Cup game last year where they had Halliburton being a superstar. Like Halliburton's got to kind of like work his way back into being a superstar, but this Pacers team plays a different way than they did in that game, just because Halliburton's not the same. So the next time the Celtics and Pacers play, all I'm saying is the Celtics better take the Pacers very seriously and play a very disciplined, focused style of basketball. They cannot go in there and being like, even if the Pacers are the 5th seed or the 7th seed or at the 10th seed, whatever, it doesn't matter. The Pacers are a team that bothers Boston. The Celtics have to treat them like they are a team a half game behind them in the standings looking to get home court, right? That's just how the Celtics have to approach it. Let's look at the comeback. Let's get into some of the good things. Let's end on a positive note. We'll get to some of Joe Mazzulla's decisions in that last play, all of which I'm pretty cool with. We'll talk about that when I come back. And make sure you're subscribed to the Locked On Celtics newsletter. It's a new daily free newsletter. Get it Monday through Friday in your inbox. So make sure you are going to lockedondaily.com, lockedondaily.com. Click on the Locked On Celtics logo. Give them your email and get the Celtics Locked On Celtics newsletter directly to your inbox for free. This really was a classic Celtics game, right? If I fed every game from last season into some sort of AI program, it would have spit out this game. The Celtics, okay, they came back. They were down 24 at one point in the third, down 19 in the fourth, 7:27 to go. Celtics look cooked. I was ready to say, enough is enough, pull the plug. I was starting to write as if they had lost. I was starting like, okay, if they lost, they lost. I was trying to get a jump on things. And then all of a sudden they start coming back. Interesting lineups that, they pulled Al Horford, they pulled Drew Holiday and just didn't play them again. And it was just an interesting decision. It was just part of the Celtics just deciding this is working. They had a lineup with Peyton Pritchard and was it Sam Hauser in there? They had a Jayson Tatum and Neemias Queta was one of the big changes, and the energy change was incredible. Queta comes in, plays 13 and a half minutes, gets 9 total rebounds. He was a plus 18, team best plus 18 in 13 and a half minutes, 4 offensive rebounds, 2 of those rebounds in the overtime to give the Celtics a chance. Jayson misses, Jaylen misses. He gets both rebounds. One's a tip, one's a grab and a pass out. And he was huge. He protected the rim. Points in the paint, still a problem for the Celtics. And 62 points in the paint. The Celtics have averaged allowing 52 points in the paint. So they allowed 62 with Indy. Horford's not going to be protecting the rim the same way that Porzingis does, even though he got a couple of blocks against Milwaukee. Nice plays. But he's not going to be he's not a shot blocker necessarily. He's not patrolling the rim. Luke Cornett can do it, but he's, it's a little bit different. He's just not, this quick matchup is tough for him. Queta comes in and things start to settle down. He protects the rim. The Pacers start missing. They start trying to challenge one-on-one. Didn't work out. And on the other end, he keeps possessions alive. He grabs, puts in a lob. He had a tremendous game. And you could probably, if you want to, I know they gave him the Tommy Award afterwards, and he deserved it. You could pinpoint Queta as the guy that maybe most encapsulates the change in energy in this game. I was okay with Horford not playing. I was okay with Holiday not playing. Maybe in the overtime, maybe I would have gone with him in the OT, but kind of like dance with the one that got you there, or dance with the date you came in with. Joe Mazzulla stuck with Peyton Pritchard, and I had no real problem with that. Although I can listen to the argument that Pritchard sitting in the OT, or at least in the end of OT, maybe when the Celtics got that lead, maybe you take him out and you have Holiday finish defensively to kind of be more of a pest. But Payne's a pest. It's just, I don't know. I can listen to the Holiday argument, but I think Joe's decisions were fine. They worked up until that very end where Siakam just gets the last 5 points. Siakam has, like I said, an outlier game. I mean, he's a great player. 29 points, 11 rebounds, 5 assists, 6 of 8 from 3. It's ties a career high with 6 made 3-pointers. Sometimes some of those you got to live with, but at the very end, I thought that the last play was a good play, even though Jaylen Brown was the one who got the shot. I trust Derek White making the pass, and to get everybody kind of moving towards the basket. It's a situation where Siakam hit that 3. Pacers are up 3, and they're probably going to foul. But the rule is you do not foul if somebody is facing the basket, because they can easily see that you're coming to foul them and rise up and get 3 free throws, or worse, a 4-point play. So Mazzula draws up a play where everybody's kind of heading towards the basket. So it takes the Pacers away from being able to foul. And with 3 and change left on the clock, you get the ball up quickly, because you want to be able to get the rebound and get a second shot if you can. So the play call, I thought, was really good. The fact that Jaylen Brown got the ball on this particular night, 1 of 11 or 1 of 10 up until he took that shot. What are you going to do, right? It's the last second situation. You want he's one of your best players on the floor. You trust him even as he's 1 for 11, 1 for 10. You still trust him, but he couldn't even get the ball onto the rim. And so instead of even getting a chance at a rebound, which they think, looking at the positioning on the floor, they could have, that they had a shot at it, but air ball misses. So I thought Mazzula's decision making down the stretch and the play at the end, that was all fine. I thought it was all fine. So Celtics lose, tough one, but moving on, you go on to Charlotte. You got back-to-back in Charlotte, 2 games, Friday, Saturday in Charlotte. So I will be here podcasting after both of those games. So make sure you're subscribed. Hopefully the Celtics turn things around. Jaylen said after the game, didn't have my legs underneath me, whatever. He talked about injuries. I don't know if something's bothering him or bothering somebody else, but Celtics need to kind of get a strong defensive effort against the Charlotte Hornets. Good timing to face the Charlotte Hornets, I think. But they definitely need to have a couple of solid defensive games, because I don't like their defense right now. So we'll see. We'll see. I can't get over the fact that Tatum shot 18 3-pointers. 18 3-pointers for a single guy. And it's Jayson Tatum. Jayson Tatum leads the league in 3-pointers taken. That's incredible. Jayson Tatum should not be leading the league in 3-pointers attempted. Just should not. I know Mazzula likes a lot of those shots, but there is a limit. Sometimes you got to move the ball. So that's my last word. Thank you for listening. Thank you for subscribing. Watch the show on YouTube. Get into the comment section. Make sure that you are joining the rest of your Celtics family there in the Celtics Locked On Celtics comment section. So it's a fun place to be. Some good comments going on. Would love it now if you shared the podcast and told everybody they should be listening to and watching the Locked On Celtics podcast here on the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.